I think it's important to really hone in on your journey in baseball. Um, and so my first question for you is like the value of mental performance. Like, what did that do throughout your career, and what did you learn after your career ended that would have benefited you while you were playing?
It really helped me grow as a player. I wouldn't have played as long as I did without the mental game. I mean, I look back now and I think that, I mean, I got drafted in 2008. I made my major league debut in 2011 and didn't really dive into the mental game properly, formally, until after my 2013 season. And when I think about 2010, 11, 12, there was growth, but on the mental side, it was stagnant. And when I ran into adversity, at the big league level, I didn't really know how to handle it. And then when I got sent back down to AAA a couple times, I found myself spiraling out of control. Um, and when I really started to focus on the mental game, um, completely changed my outlook, and it allowed me to become a better teammate. I had a process for every part of the day. Like when I woke up, I knew what I wanted to be focused on. I knew what self-talk I should have while I was on defense, offense, when I was on deck, when I was in the hole, when it's 2-0 count. Before then, I didn't have a defined process. So if I could go back in time and talk to a younger version of myself now that I'm done playing, I wish that I studied the mental game when I was in high school, or go back and study it and make sure that I'm focusing on the teachings of people that are teaching major leaguers what they should be thinking about.
What was that biggest piece of advice that you learned in your career? Was it from another player? Was it from, I know you've worked with Ken Ravizza, who's one of like the most renowned sports psychology coaches ever. Who did it come from, and what was that point?
I got great advice from a lot of coaches along the way, but working with Ken is what really changed the trajectory of my career. A couple main things, like breathing obviously is huge. But aside from the breathing, it was just learning to be easier on myself. Forgive yourself, you're human. This game is really hard, and we tend to be perfectionists that beat ourselves up better than anybody else can. And so my very first session with Ken, we were having sessions every 2 weeks after that 2013 season, which was an abysmal season, in my opinion. And I remember him asking me like what kind of stuff I was thinking about, what thoughts was I having while I was on the field that were bringing me down. And I told him that I'd beat myself up, like I suck. I need to get a hit. I'm playing catch up. Like, you're better than that. And he put his hands on my shoulders at one point in time. So like, stop it. It's like, stop beating yourself up. Stop it. This game is too hard. This guy's throwing 95 miles an hour. He's trying to deceive you with movement, changing velocity. I mean, this game is too hard, Chase. And he went on and on. And I can go on and on about what he said for the next 10 minutes. But essentially, in a nutshell, it was just to be more forgiving of myself and reminding myself that this game is hard. If you beat yourself up, you're just gonna. So I started, embracing failure and looking at it differently.
Okay, so take me through like ground out to second, or like a mistake in the field. What would you do immediately, like to move past it? Or was there at the beginning of your career, a portion of, I guess I'm going to hold it with me? I remember like making a mistake and I'd think about it 5 innings later. What was that for you to help you like move past these?
So what thoughts was I having? So what thoughts was I having, and how did I move past?
Yeah.
Okay, before working with Ken, in 2013, I started the year off with a concussion. By the time I got back, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to do really well. And I was, I was telling myself, all right, time to get a hit. Need to get a hit right here. Like, need to get a hit. Like, why are you telling yourself you need to get a hit? You don't need to. It'd be great, but be at peace whether you get out or not. So, beforehand, let's say I had a ground ball to the shortstop, I would bust my ass. And, I didn't feel sorry for myself in the moment. I wanted to get to first base and try to, cause an error, something like that. But after being called out and on that jog back to third base, to third base dugout, first base dugout, it's man, you suck. You suck. That was the most common one. Just disappointment, just beating myself up, telling myself the wrong thing, which makes yourself feel worse, you know. And there are other things that I said to myself, but I want to keep this nice and PG for everybody. But I wouldn't say it out loud, right? But I would think it in my head. I would have negative thoughts. And after working with Ken, when I got out, I was very objective. There were less emotions involved. It was quickly like, why did I get out? What was my approach? Did I swing at my pitch? It was more of that kind of stuff. Was I on time? Do I need to change anything? It was less emotional.
It's really fun to kind of dive through this and really think about like the impact that he had. He recently passed, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few years ago.
And he was your teacher, and now the lessons that he taught you, you get to teach to others.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to like hone in on that because of all of the psychologists that work in sports, he might be the most well known, and the impact that he was able to have through you and through the other athletes that he worked with. Is there one point that he told you in your conversations with him, your hours of conversations with him, that still sticks out?
Yeah. There's one thing that he told me that I used a couple times. A lot of people seek advice in mental performance when they start to doubt themselves. For me, there were times where I doubted myself, but it was more so to make sure I had my head on straight, because I always felt like I was one of the most athletic players on the team. And for me not to have the success that I felt like I should have, I figured something was wrong between my ears. But Ken gave me a very useful tip, something that I can do when I'm feeling a little bit of self-doubt, whether I'm on the field or if I'm on the bench and for some reason I find myself doubting myself. He said, and like, look at your hands right now. It's like when you're feeling a certain way where you're starting to doubt yourself and you feel it creeping in, just look at your hands, man. Like you see these right here? And he grabbed my hands and he started rubbing on my calluses. He's like, you see these calluses right here? He's like, how the hell do you think you got these calluses? And I said, just work. He's like, your preparation. And he slapped my hand. He's like, think about how many hours you put in. It's like, it's so easy. We work so hard. And then all of a sudden in the moment, for whatever reason, whether it's the imposter syndrome or something else, we forget how hard we've worked and how much time we've actually prepared. So this is a way to remind yourself, like, all that time that you put in quickly just hits you. It's like, I put in my time. Whatever happens, happens.
Okay, so Chase Darno, how many years in the big leagues? 6?
4.
4 years in the big leagues.
Accumulated, roughly 4 years, 6 different clubs. 11
in the minors. So in total, how many years of professional baseball?
12 years of pro ball total. Played with 6 different big league clubs. I was a journeyman. Would have been nice to stick to one. I always had this dream of being like a Cal Ripken type guy, franchise player, but I went the free agent route, and it was wonderful.
So all of that time, like a dozen years playing professional baseball, like I know a lot from my experience on like 3 years of professional baseball, right? So for you, over a decade of playing, by the end of your career, the skills that you learned in terms of preparation and forgiving yourself for the things that would happen and improving on the field, can you kind of highlight, what by the end, what it was for you that like you found to work for you for that preparation? Was it a routine? Was it just the mindset? Was it just, I'm really good now because I've played over a decade? Like what kept you going and what kept you like being a great baseball player 10, 12 years in?
Perseverance. Really, I mean, that's and I could elaborate on that. A lot of players, when they're not where they want to be, will feel sorry for themselves, and put added pressure on themselves. But I started really taking accountability. You ever heard, if you don't like it, play better? You have nobody to blame but yourself. And I would tell that to myself, and Ken helped me do a better job of that. after working with him, I got taken off the 40-man roster during spring training 3 days in. And it led to me really having to implement the things that we worked on. Is that in my control? Right? Like them releasing me, like, it's probably something they wanted to do before spring training started. They had an idea of what they wanted to do. They know they wanted to make a move, but how I responded to it, really have to credit to Ken, because I thought to myself, I should have played better. I didn't play that well. Like, there are other guys that deserve that spot right now. I need to earn it again. And, I'm going to do that by being a good teammate and taking advantage of every opportunity, lifting others up, and not being mopey, not feeling sorry for other people.
When you think about your career, all of the hundreds of thousands, maybe thousands of players that you got to play alongside or with or against, was there one that stood out that you're like, man, I wish I did it the way that he did it? Maybe not physical, more mental. Man, I wish I could move on like he did. I wish I could prepare like he did. Like, who was that to you?
That's a good question, because I played with a lot of great players. I was a couple lockers away from Mookie when I was at the Red Sox. I played with Andrew McCutchen when I was at the Pirates. I played with Derek Lee when I was at the Pirates. I played with a lot of amazing players that played for well over 10 years. I mean, Travis, my brother, just hit his 10-year mark. And I've seen from within the family circle what it's like to see his growth and his development. But, a player that sticks out that I thought prepared really well, was the same guy every single day. And even though I played with him for a very short period of time, I was really impressed with Derek Lee when he came to the field. We played together for just 2.5 months with the Pirates, the tail end of 2013 or 14 season. I don't remember specifically. But when he got to the field, he was so calm, extremely calm. Whether he had a good day or a bad day, he was so calm. He went through the same routine every day. He had the same energy after he got out of the shower, as he was getting dressed for the field. I mean, you could just tell that he knew his process. He had it down to a T. He knew what adjustment to make at the right time, rather than prematurely making an adjustment that you don't need to make, or just making the wrong adjustment. Like, I like the way that he went about his business. It's very calm. And that's like the Braves team right now. I mean, the Atlanta Braves are the best team in baseball right now. August 23rd, they're crushing it. And when I watch them play, the whole team has a very slow heartbeat. It doesn't seem like they're trying too hard at any point in time. When they're losing, there's no difference. I don't feel like they're pressing. I always feel like they have a chance. I mean, sure, they have a very talented team, but it's their process and their mindset going into the games and during the games that sets them apart and helps them make the right decisions in the middle of the game, in the middle of an at-bat, pitch to pitch. And so when I watch those games and then watch another team play, it's just a little different. It's a little different.
So you got 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And have you thought about, as they get into, I'm sure Jack is playing T-ball now, right?
Yeah. He's played 3 years of baseball so far.
Okay, perfect.
6, yeah.
So I'm sure these conversations are going to happen. He's going to strike out. He's going to throw his bat. He's going to get angry. Things are going to happen. Have you thought about now as a dad to be able to kind of teach your kids these skills?
Oh yeah, big time, especially breathing. I mean, I think that all parents should teach their children how to regulate. At a young age, it's easy to spiral out of control and get upset, like, no, and to throw a tantrum. It's natural. It's natural. And we as parents shouldn't beat ourselves up and feel bad. Like, that happens to all kids. But I do have Jagger and Jet, his younger brother. There have been a couple times where I've had them lie down on their beds and just breathe. And I have to, it takes a lot of patience on my part, because I have to make sure they're lying down calmly. Like, sitting up, they get too fidgety. But I touch their bodies. I get their legs and I shake them a little bit so that their muscles are nice and soft and relaxed. And I put their hands here on their chest, and I was like, boys, here, and I just want you to breathe like this. Close your eyes. Go. Just keep going. But they stop and they want to wiggle and everything, right? But I'm patient with them. I don't say, hey, so I don't get stirred and be like, hey, I see you wiggling there. Like, hey, remember, no movement, boys. Nice and calm. And it took literally 3 to 5 minutes around that range to get them to finally embrace being still and just breathing. And the energy in that room was so different than what it was 5 minutes before that when they were playing with everything and bouncing around. But I've been able to use that when they're upset or if they get hurt. I'm just trying to ingrain that so that when they realize that they're a little out of control and someone tells them to breathe, that they do it properly. Because if they can and they can regulate and really focus on the exhale, they're going to have an edge over other people just in general.
I think it's important too, like
breathing.
For high school. I never did a second of breathing. It didn't even occur to me that I should meditate. I should breathe. I should calm myself down. It's like, well, I suck, and this is how it's going to be.
Yep.
I never had that. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening, a lot of parents have been like, oh, you know what? I haven't taught my kids that. I think that would be really valuable for them to do that. That's why this is super valuable. This is super important because this is something that you implement and you've had that experience of as an elite professional athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, breathing.
Speaking of the kids.
Oh, you heard that?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a good microphone right there. No, the breathing. The breathing is so key, and people told us that in high school and college. But the way that Ken explains it, it really affects our system and how we feel. If you want to feel more energized, right, you do the opposite. You don't focus on the exhalation. You focus on the inhalation, right? You need to pick me up. It's you're going to focus on that inhale each time for a few times, and then you're invigorated. My mom made me listen to Tony Robbins. But I was blessed to have a mom that cared enough to not force, but to get us excited to listen to these Tony Robbins tapes with her at the top of our staircase as kids. And I remember him talking about that. You feel like you need to wake up, like breathe really fast, like. But I don't know how often I actually implemented it back then. But yeah, breathing's huge. Breathing is everything, even just in life, outside of baseball. I think it's almost more important when you're done playing baseball because you lose the structure that baseball provided. And it's been a quest to find that balance and structure again. I think that's the most difficult thing that I've had to do since I stopped playing.
Did you do anything while, looking at the end of your career? Was there anything where you're like, okay, I think it's close now? I remember us talking like mid-COVID. You're like, hey, I'm talking to some teams. I think they want me to run. Like they want me to come back. And I know like you were just having your boys then, but like when your career was starting to wind down, could you feel that? Did you know that was coming soon?
No.
Yeah.
Had no idea. No, I didn't have any idea. I mean, I wanted to keep playing, and I'm not joking. I was usually one of the most athletic guys on the team, and I had some time left. But we had our boys, and my wife was having a tough time with the boys. Jagger was very rambunctious. We were about to have our second one, and she'd expressed to me how difficult it was being out there during the season with the boys, and I really enjoyed my time with them, but I found myself in a position where it was either go and play and not be around the kids as often as I'd like, or stay home and start that transition earlier than I imagined. So I ended up going with the latter route, and I still feel like I can play. I'm still taking grounders. I still hit BP. I do all that kind of stuff still because I can. But no, I didn't see it coming. And when it was a blessing in disguise though, because I've gotten to spend a lot more time with my boys now that I'm not playing. You miss a lot of things as a baseball dad. It's a very consuming career. You don't realize it till you're done playing just how much time it takes up. Like, sure, we have our off seasons where we have the 3 months, but we're still training and whatnot. But once that season starts, there's a ton of games and a ton of practice, and we're at the field every single day. Now the minor leaguers have a day off once a week.
You're welcome.
Jeez.
You're welcome. That's my fault.
I think y'all
take full credit for that.
More than baseball played an integral part, an essential part of what's happened in the last few years. It's pretty
Um,
amazing. But
it's fun to look back on.
yeah,
Um,
but the transition itself, like I want to say this, like the transition, I think it's really important for people to ask for help. If they don't feel like themselves, they need to talk to other players and need to talk to people. I didn't want to burden people with the thoughts that I was having, with any negativity. I was that guy in the field that just wanted to lift everybody up. I didn't want to bring anybody down, but we need other people in our lives. We need help, and it's powerful to seek that help. You can't do it on your own.
is there? We'll finish up here. Is there? If a kid were to say like, what should I do today that can make me better? It's really broad to think about, like just one item, one tool that you learned, but gun to your head, what is that thing? What is that thing that can help somebody improve their skill, improve their mental performance, improve their performance on the field?
Mm. I became a big fan of meditating. I wish that I did it consistently, every single day, every single season. Once I was doing it regularly, I found that it became a lot easier to regulate in the moment and calm myself down and find that clarity and that ability to be in the present. But the meditation is, I really liked meditating in the mornings. I felt amazing going to the field whenever I did it. One of the best ways to start my day. I mean, in 2018, I did a lot in 2013, but I remember 2018, I was religious about it. 2018, I was with the Giants. I remember waking up at 5 a.m. in Scottsdale, and right away, I wanted to duck out of bed. Jagger was just born, and my wife's still sleeping, and we had a bathroom that had a stall, it had a door, so you had a little toilet room there. And I remember sitting on the toilet because I wanted to be really quiet, and I would sit on the toilet and just breathe right there, and that's where I did my meditating. That spring training, but I felt amazing going to the field, and then I kept on doing it throughout the year, and it was one of my most fun seasons. Clarity. The meditation provides clarity, and somebody hasn't tried it before, they should.
What is it
Have you gotten
specifically?
into that?
I am
Meditating?
starting to. Yeah. Yeah. Are you in through the nose, out through the mouth? Is it guided? Is it just silence, listening to breath?
There are a couple ways to do it. You have, so the way that Ken taught it, he didn't really use the word meditation. For me, he liked calling it breath work, right? And for him, it was about focusing on your breathing only, right? You focus on the inhalation, exhalation, and the first couple minutes, you're taking into account what you're feeling. Like my forearm's resting on this chair right now. Like all starting from here, feeling like my head is being held by a string right here, so that you have good posture, you relax, feel the back of your lower back on the chair, just wiggling your toes at the end of your shoes, to where you're in the present and just focused on your breath. And it's natural for us to veer away from thinking about our breath, think about an at bat that we had the day before, or an argument that you might have gotten in with your girlfriend, or something that your coach said to you, or something family oriented, or anything, a sandwich that you like. It could be anything. It could be something random. But as soon as you realize that you're not thinking about your breathing, just get back to it. Take note of what you were thinking about, but get back to breathing and focusing on the inhalation and the exhalation. And then when you're done, 15 to 20 minutes later, you'll reflect a little bit, and you'll think about the things that came up while you were breathing. Because a lot of the times, those are the subconscious reoccurring thoughts that we're having throughout the day that might distract us from what we should be focused on. And so it gave me a chance to recognize that I was having that reoccurring thought and just live with it a little bit. Like, why am I thinking about that? It's not even a big deal. Or it made me realize, maybe that is a big deal and I need to do something about it. So even though I was trying to be mindless and in the present, things that popped up into my head just let me know that it was something that I needed to address. It was either a big deal or a small thing. Don't think about it anymore. So another way to meditate, called TM, transcendental meditation. Transcendental meditation is something that's really popular among business owners. Like, you know, huge CEOs swear by it. Like, people that have Fortune 500 companies are very vocal about what they do with TM. And TM involves having a mantra. So you're focused on your breathing, but you're saying something to yourself constantly. Like, it's not an actual sentence or a word. It's a word that is, it's not made up. It's not English, but it's a word that has meaning behind it. And you say that over and over again in your head. And it's supposed to really empower you and just keep you focused. It's like your power word. And
Do you have a power
you
word?
do the same thing for 15 to 20 minutes. You know, I don't have a power word while I meditate. I have a word for each year. Like for this year, the word for me is finish. And I really want to finish everything that I start. You know, we go back for a few years, and when I stopped playing, I had a lot of different things going on, and certain things I wouldn't finish, and that bothered me. You know, I look back at a year and think like, oh man, I started that, and that was great. I wish I kept on doing that. I wish I didn't let that fall off. And so this year, my word was finish, and so I've been very intentional, and it makes me ask myself, like, all right, before I commit to something and get into this, like, is this something that I'm going to finish? Because I don't want to waste my time, and I want to be reliable.